Okay guys, today we're trying to be able to solve two-step equations. So we did one-step solves last test. Okay, we did those before, and I know you've looked at these before probably too. But first things first, I want to make sure that we're still able to do one step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put four different one steps up here, and after I've written them all down, I want you to pause and I want you to try to do all four. Again, making sure that you show what you are doing to both sides of the equation to solve it. Okay? So I'm going to put four problems up here. None of them should be particularly challenging. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page. We remember everything that we're supposed to remember, and we should be fine. Okay, so try solving these four equations, pause, and then come back. Make sure you show your work. Okay, I'm assuming you've done that, and again, you just need to remember to make sure to do the opposite operation. Okay, so subtract 3 from both sides, we get -5. Add 2 to both sides, we get -3. Divide both sides by 10. Don't be fooled, look at that, that's a fraction, 5/10, that's -1/2. And here, I know some of you do it in 2 steps, but the quick way to do it in 1 is multiply by the reciprocal, which is 4/3. And when you do that, you're doing 9 divided by 3, which is 3 times 4, which is 12, so we get -12. Hopefully you got all 4 of those. If you didn't, you may need to come see me and talk to me unless you just made a simple math error or something like that. Okay, how to work a two-step and why. So a two-step equation is basically just going to look like a combination of one of the two that we just had on the left with one of the two that we just had on the right. So as an example, it might look like this. That might be an example of a two-step equation. So basically the whole idea is that we're going to work it in a very similar way. We need to get the x by itself, so that means we need to find a way to get rid of the 3 and get rid of the 2. We are going to get rid of them in the exact same way. We need to subtract 3 and we need to divide by 2. The question here, though, is should we divide by 2 first? Should we subtract 3 first? Which should we be doing first, and does it matter? Or can we do either first? Do we have a choice? What I want you to do is pause, maybe think about that for a second, and then I'll kind of give you my thoughts on it. So I'm assuming you've done that at this point. You want to subtract first, but it's not because you have to. You could divide everything by 2 first, but let me kind of show you why it doesn't really work out so well. What I want you to do is think back to when I discussed balance for equations. Okay, remember it's like these two sides are each hanging from a balance and the balance is level. That's what that equals sign means. 2x plus 3 means we have 2 x's and we have 3 little singles. And then over here we have 15 singles. So the thing is, what we're going to be trying to do here is we're going to be trying to figure out what 1x is. Okay, now, that does mean eventually we are going to have to cut things in half, but we don't want to divide by 2 first, because the problem is if you divide these things into 2 equal groups right away, it's fine on this side. It's fine on this side. Yes, you are going to get a fraction or something like that, but it's not a big deal. The problem is, over on this side, not only do you have 2 x's that you have to cut in half and 3 1's that you have to cut in half. So in each of your equal groups, you'd have an x and 1.5. That little one's supposed to be a half, and 1.5 little singles, and you'd have it equal to 7.5 over here. What this really means is that if you choose to divide both sides by 2 first, you can't just do this. That's not dividing both sides of the equal sign. You're not dividing that into 2 equal groups then. What you really need to do then is you also need to divide those 3 individual singles up. Okay, and so the problem is there are many cases where that actually might work out okay for you to do that, but oftentimes, since you're going to have to divide anyway, and you may end up getting a fraction or a decimal anyway, why are you going to try to potentially create more by doing this first? Okay, so typically what we do is we subtract 3 from both sides first, and then we get 2x equals 12. See, and the reason we don't have to subtract 3 from x is because all we're doing is we're taking 3 blocks away. So if I pull 3 blocks off of this side, I can still just pull 3 blocks off of that side. I don't have to deal with the x's. Now I could split it into 2 equal groups by dividing by 2. So the process for 2-step equations is first get rid of your addition or subtraction, then get rid of your multiplication or division. This is very typical of most solves where you almost work in reverse of order of operations. You get rid of your addition and subtraction, then your multiplication and division. When we have exponents, you'll usually get rid of those last 2. So this is a very common process, okay? So do you have to get rid of the addition or subtraction first? No. However, it is much simpler to do it that way, and I'm asking you to just do it that way for right now, okay? We will see some examples where maybe you want to divide everything first, but in most cases, it's just much easier to get rid of the addition and subtraction first, okay? So I'm going to put, let's just say 2 examples up here. Go -1/2 x plus 3 equals -4. And 4x plus 5 equals 25. What I want you to do is try to solve both of these. Do show what you're doing to both sides at every point. Okay, so each of these should be 2 steps. Get rid of the addition first, and you should be just fine. So pause, do it, and then come back. All right, I'm assuming you've done it. Over here, we want to subtract 3 first. Then we have -1/2 x equals -7. Then here we want to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2 over 1, but we want it to be -2 over 1 because then that'll make that x positive. Okay. So over here we just get x. Over on the other side, -7 times -2 is positive 14. Over 1 is just 14. So we get x equals 14. Over here, subtract 5. We get 4x equals 20. Divide by 4. X equals 5. That's pretty much all we've got for 2-step solves, okay? Remember, while you don't have to get rid of the addition and subtraction first, it is usually far easier to do it that way. And it is my strong suggestion that you do it that way every single time. But I just wanted you to see that while it's something that you should do, it is not something that you have to do. That's it for today. Hope you learned something.